And konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Bard, keep bringing you episode 183 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. So, besides Power Rangers, Super Sentai, and all the various incarnations of Star Trek, can you all guess what my other favorite television show is? That's right, Married with Children. Yeah, it's a great show. I love it. And before I came over to Japan for the second time, I bought the entire series on DVD. So hooray me! So a couple of nights ago, I'm watching one of the episodes, and in this particular episode, Al's about to watch his favorite television show, Psycho Dad. Only to find out that Psycho Dad has now been canceled, and he can't figure out why it is. Turns out that his neighbor Marcy had gotten her women's group together to protest the show and write into the show to get it canceled. Now, Marcy says that the reason she had done this is because there's too much violence on television in Psycho Dad, which is a show about a man in the Old West who blows people away every episode, was too violent for her taste and it wasn't good enough for society, that we had to get rid of violence in society. But it turns out that her real motivation was to make Al's life more miserable than it already was. Yes, not only is he a shoe salesman, not only does he have two ungrateful children, and not only has he developed Stockholm Syndrome for a woman he doesn't love, this woman has to go ahead and take one of the few things that makes him happy in life. One of the others being biggins. And so she's done it out of spite against Al. She's really become a villain in a couple of seasons, always becoming a killjoy to a lot of the fun things Al wants to go ahead and do, like bowling night and, again, Psycho Dad. And of course, the whole episode talks about TV violence and things like that. But of course, what's clear is that she is just doing it out of spite. She hates Al, she's trying to make his life worse, so she gets involved into something that she would not normally be involved with just to screw him over. Now, why am I talking about Married with Children on a Power Rangers Super Sentai podcast? Well, because the exact same thing happened in Power Rangers, and looking back at it 20-some years later, I'm really pissed off about it. And what am I talking about? Okay, so as you all know, in the second season of Power Rangers, we were introduced to the new character of Lord Zedd. And wasn't Lord Zedd awesome? Just look at him. He's evil, he's better than Rita, he has a menacing voice and demeanor, his theme song is awesome, his palace is creepy, everything about that guy is great. He is one of the greatest, if not the greatest villain in all the history of Power Rangers. Now, as you also know, he gets married to Rita halfway through the second season, and it essentially becomes Married with Children on Power Rangers, with Zedd in the role of Al. And they basically toned down his character. They made him less menacing, less evil, more jokey, more comical. He became really a shell of his former self within the series. Now, there's some positives and negatives to that, obviously, but frankly, I always enjoyed the more menacing Lord Zedd as opposed to the Prince John version of Lord Zedd, is the way I would like to go ahead and kind of view that character. Now, why did they change Lord Zedd? Well, once again, I can't find any official documentation on this, but this is the story, this is how it goes, so I just want to preface it by that again, there's no official, confirmation that this is exactly what happened. Turns out a bunch of parents hated the idea that Lord Zedd, Emperor of all evil, was so evil and evil-looking. Well, I don't know what they wanted out of an evil warlord, but apparently parents got upset that Lord Zedd was too evil, that he was too frightening, whatever, and they wrote into Saban requesting, or excuse me, I should say, demanding that they tone this guy down. And Saban acquiesced to their demands, to the point where we get the Camper of Doom and Zeo. And this is what pisses me off, folks. As a fan of Power Rangers, I ask a few things of the company. And that's the whole reason I put the podcast out there, is to examine the things that Power Rangers has done wrong so that Saban can at least, change those things and make them better. I would like to think that in the history of Power Rangers, we've made some subtle changes. I mean, obviously, with how bad Megaforce turned out, we got downcharged. They changed executive producers. Things got better, slightly. To where it's more of a quality show. But we ask very little out of Saban. We want good stories. We want good actors. We want more episodes. We don't want a Google Translate. We want better editing of episodes. We don't want to be force-fed 15 different toys in a single episode. Little things to improve the series. But for whatever reason, Saban doesn't always listen to us. That's just something that they don't want to go ahead and do. I think the most significant thing they ever did by listening to the fans, or the fans of the show, that is, was to bring Tommy back into the series. Because of course Tommy was supposed to be gone in the series. Then fan demand was so great that they did bring him back. So that's at least a positive in their favor. But they listened to the fans. The fans wanted Tommy. We want Tommy. That's what we want. We want to see more of him in the series. Not a single fan in 1994, not a single fan now, has ever demanded to make Lord Zedd less evil. But it was the parents who decided to make Lord Zedd less evil, and Saban listened to them. I don't understand why this is something that parents do. That they watch what their children are watching some of the time, and when they find something objectionable, they rant and rave and scream, and they call into the company to say, hey, we don't want this, you need to go ahead and change this now, or we're not going to watch Power Rangers. Like, we don't care if you don't watch Power Rangers, lady. Because, frankly, I think these are people with far too much time on their hands and not doing anything actually productive. Let me kind of backtrack a little bit here. I'm a parent now, and Trini's going to be raised on Power Rangers. That's just a given fact, and I've already told my wife that. But if she ever watches something that I find objectionable, whatever this generation's Bratz is or whatever, I don't know what's on TV. I don't watch TV anymore. I watch Married with Children and Sentai, okay? All right, if there's something that I find objectionable in the programming that she's watching, you know what I'm going to do as her father? I'm going to say, honey, you can't watch that. And that's the end of it. As a parent, I tell her she can't watch it. Now, I know there are those of you who are out there going to say, well, she's not going to listen to you, she's going to find a way to watch, and yeah, okay, I get it. But that's where I got to step in as a parent and do what's right in that particular situation. And to start off with, the first thing to do is, I find that objectionable. You should not be watching it, so do not watch it. That's what I have to do as a parent. It is not my job as a parent to write into the production company and say, you know what, I've never seen your show before, but my daughter watches it, and instead of taking responsibility for what my daughter watches, I want you to change your programming. But I will never watch the show again, except to check that you actually did what I told you to do. I hate that. I'm never going to be that, and I don't want other parents to be that way. Because I hate it when people get involved with watching programs that they find objectionable and then trying to get those changed. Because you're not a fan of the series. We're not catering to you, mother who won't get off the couch except to write a letter. I just hate that. It really bothers me. And what bothers me is that this happened to Power Rangers. That we took a great character and we changed him because people who do not watch the show did not like that character. And again, are they going to boycott the show? So what if you don't watch the show? Because your children watch the show. And even if you don't let your children watch the show, other people are going to let their children watch the show, and Power Rangers is going to be just fine without you, lady, okay? And I know I'm saying that there's a particular person, it seems like I'm doing that, but I'm just embodying this woman who looks like Peggy Bundy and Marcy combined that's actually doing this. The Simpsons covered in the Itchy and Scratchy and Marge episode where she basically did the exact same thing. And I hated Marge in that episode. Even now that I watch it, I just can't believe Marge would actually do that. Because what's odd about that episode is it tries to be neutral and present both sides of the argument there, but it never brings up the fact that a parent needs to be a parent and not have their children watch the programming or at least talk to their children about the programming. They never bring that up in there. It's just like there's cartoon violence. Marge writes in and wins. Like, what is it the guy says? The screwballs have spoken. But if you will recall, it's not the screwballs who are watching the programming. It was Bart, Lisa, and all the other children who were primarily affected by this. And it just seems to be like a thing that would even happen today. That if you don't like it, well, you're not a fan, but we're going to listen to you. Screw those fans. I mean, again, we want little things within Power Rangers, but we're not going to get them. And if I told you guys right now, let's have a letter writing campaign to get Tokuger adaptation, even if every single Power Ranger fan out there, from Ranger Board and Ranger Crew and every website and all my fan base, was to write a letter a week like Andy Dufresne did, they're not going to go ahead and do it. They're listening to us fans, but they're ignoring us. But if one screwball of a woman starts a campaign to get rid of Power Rangers because it's too violent and all that kind of stuff, or tone down the violence, the Ninja Steel will be completely done without any type of swords or punching or any kind. They will listen to the screwballs about the violence in the programming, but will not listen to the fans about the quality of the programming. And that's what pisses me off more than anything else. Because as a fan, now I'm not going to sit here and say that they owe us as fans of the programming, because I believe there was an episode of The Simpsons where Bart made it inherently clear that, if anything, we owe them, and that's fair enough. I get that. I'm not going to sit here and feel like an entitled fan. But I don't think it's unfair to say that the company should be listening to the fans of the programming as opposed to, angry middle-aged housewives who don't watch the programming. Because here's the thing. So they write in, they tell you to change Lord Zedd, they're happy, they don't write in again. But what if you decided, we're going to introduce another character who's even more evil. We're going to do this in the show. Well, they're just going to write in again and again and again, and they won't stop until you actually change the show to the way they like it and change it from what the fans actually like. I mean, can you imagine how different Power Rangers would be if they would actually listen to what the fans had to say? If we had a counter letter writing program to get Lord Zedd back to the way he was somehow, like retcon that in some way? Again, the most significant change in the history of Power Rangers was that Tommy was added back to the series. Now imagine they didn't listen to us fans and Tommy never came back. What if we did get Richie as the White Ranger, or Curtis as the White Ranger, or that Brad Hawkins dude to actually be the White Ranger? Could you see how different Power Rangers history would be without what some people consider the number one Power Ranger out there, Tommy? And again, that's what people consider, there's always going to be debates out there. But can you imagine just Power Rangers without Tommy? Going into the second season, like different person as the White Ranger, the Green Ranger having never come back, Tommy never being in the movie, being in Zeo, being in Dino Thunder. If they never listened to us, we would have never had that. But if they listen to these idiots out there who don't watch the show, and again, I want to emphasize that they don't watch the show. I should not be able to influence the way My Little Pony is being made because I'm not a fan, I don't watch the show, so they shouldn't count my voice. If I'm not a fan, whatever, don't listen to them. But if I'm a fan of My Little Pony and I'm requesting some changes be made to the programming, then I think they should at least listen to me in some capacity. So again, if I write in the Power Rangers today and say, hey, I think this is what they should do in the show, I'm not saying that they should acquiesce to my demands, but they should at least listen to my opinion over the opinion of somebody who doesn't watch the program. If you're not involved, what's the point? It's kind of like an election, it's like we're not going to count the votes of the people in South Africa for the United States presidential election. They don't count. They're not part of this whole process. But how stupid would it be if the United States acquiesced to the demands of South Africa and changed things in this country? Then again, that's exactly what missionaries are doing in Central Africa, but I digress. The point I'm trying to make in all this is I don't think what they did back in '94 was right. I don't think that any other time that this has happened, this should happen. It should never happen. If you're a fan of the show, they should listen to you. If you're not a fan of the show, screw you. We don't care. If you're going to boycott it, whatever, we don't need you. This is our target demographic. These are our fans. These are the people who we are trying to go ahead and please. And yes, you can please your 6 to 9-year-old male demographic if you want while upsetting a couple of parents. Because you should not compromise your art, your storytelling, your programming for the sake of the screwballs out there who don't appreciate it, who don't enjoy it, and never will. Because how many of those housewives that were writing in to change Lord Zedd actually sat down and watched Power Rangers after that? Zero is how many I can tell you. Maybe they checked in to see if they actually changed Lord Zedd's character like they demanded, but after that, never interested. And I feel bad for the kids out there with parents like that. You know, I really do. If you have a mother like that and they change Lord Zedd because your mother wrote in because of that, I feel so sorry for you. I really do. I don't know what else to go ahead and say except you have my condolences. So, okay, so that was kind of a lengthy rant out there, but what else is new for me? I hope I kind of made my point there. I just really hope that next time that there's a significant change in Power Rangers, that I don't learn to find out that it was some clucking hen that decided this is too violent for my child. And instead of being an actual parent and doing something about it, I'm going to go ahead and complain to the production company and screw everyone else over. Because I don't care if you enjoy it, I don't enjoy it, and I don't think that should be on television. Yeah, screw you. Alright, so that's all I got. What are your all's opinions on this matter? You know, should television programs acquiesce to demands of insane non-fans, or should they actually listen to the demands of their actual fan base? So, that's all I've got. Rant over. So, thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening. And the tavern is now closed.